Hey, real quick, just a reminder to subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. Also, we're doing a live show in Atlanta, December 2nd, the Friday night before the SEC championship game, solidverballive.com. Link down there for tickets.
All right, Dan, special guest time here on the show. We are pleased to welcome Chris Distefano. You can check out his Netflix special right now called Speshy Weshy. You can also hear him on the Hey Babe podcast on Chrissy Chaos, another podcast. You can check out his comedy tour at chrisdcomedy.com. Mr. Distefano, welcome to the Solid Verbal, sir. How are you today?
How are you doing, my friends? I like it. Happy to be here. I wish we were all in the same room because I'd be tickling everybody.
Ty is a ticklish little guy.
He does look ticklish. Ty looks more ticklish than Dan. Ty, you look like tickly person. You just look like a ball. Like you look more likely to not be wearing pants right now while doing the broadcast.
That's true, because he's all business up top, and those are the ones that you got to watch out for.
Yeah, like he's wearing a wet diaper down below. He's got a belt diaper on.
Is it the collared shirt that gave it away? What
it's just you know, like I just feel like, you know, you look a little bit more like Dan's coming in. He's got a t-shirt on, glass. Like he's just like, I'm fun guy. I'm chilling. Where Ty's like, I got to be the professional here. But I know that, you know, you're the one who's going to get arrested one day.
That's true. Again.
Yeah.
Well, look, we appreciate your time. We're thrilled to have you here. And as we talked a little bit before we hit record, we just enjoy talking to people who are college football adjacent, people that you can see on TV or you can hear about or know about otherwise out in popular culture. And we find out, hey, this is somebody who's into college football on some level. So you're from New York, which we've joked about on our show time and again. What is the one true team, the one true like college football team
honestly
in New York City? Because we've joked it's Fordham. Rutgers would have you believe it's Rutgers. I know you come from an area in New York that has like a strong following for Notre Dame, but what do you consider, if you think about it, the one true college football team in New York City?
See, for college football, if I had to say one, I would probably lean towards Rutgers just because they've been good recently. But you hit it on the head. What you'll see, at least in the neighborhood I grew up in, because there's all like the cops, firemen, criminals. Like I feel like I grew up with like the entire FDNY, who are mostly like, you know, just big burly Irish guys. It's the Notre Dame Fighting Irishes. That's the most college football merch you'll see around. I think is Notre Dame. You did for a little bit when you know, there was a time I believe where wasn't Buffalo State weren't they good?
Buffalo
was good relatively recently. That you saw some stuff there, but for the most part, it's Notre Dame, it's Alabama, who I hate. It's you know, it was Clemson. You know, it was like the big, UCLA, USC. We don't have a college. I don't know, in New York. I guess we don't believe in college. I don't know. We're all just. It's just fun. There's no college sports at all. We're just about the pros. We're just about being capitalistic, greedy pigs and going right to the pros.
It's funny because I know a lot of people in Philly and they have the same experience, the same relationship with college football. And so I want to hear more about like how you feel about Notre Dame football, Alabama football. I know you mentioned before that you're into Georgia as well, but like the people that I know in Philly are really attached to the Eagles, to the Phillies, to the Flyers, to the Sixers, but it's almost as if college football does not exist, Chris.
Which is crazy because Philly has so many colleges. They have so many colleges. I mean, you know, Penn State is close enough. UPenn, they got, you know, Drexel. They got all these. They have all these schools, and yet they, you know, they don't care about college. And you know, I feel like Philly. Here's at least with comedy. I'm sure it's the same in sports. Philly is a place you got to get through. Like when I was put in maybe the worst case scenario for a comedian that you could be in. I was 2 weeks ago. I had a show downtown Philadelphia, Friday night, 8 p.m. Game one of the World Series, Philly versus the Astros started at 8:05. My show started at 8 o'clock. Philly is already notorious for like heckling comics, booing you. You know, Bill Burr's got the famous Opie and Anthony traveling virus story where he's like, you know, they want to boom off stage and he just keeps pounding his material. That happened to me. I mean, it got so bad where I just said to the venue, I was at the Fillmore in Philly, great venue.
Yep.
I said, just do me a favor. I said from the stage, I said, put the TVs on in the back bar, let them watch the game. Those who want to watch the game can watch the game. Anybody who doesn't want to watch the game and wants to listen to my comedy, then do that, because they were, screaming and cheering on random places where I didn't even have a punchline because, the Phillies gave up another run, or, Schwarber hit a home run. I was like, people are your animals.
It's funny that you mentioned that specific example, because the college football tie-in is you can't hold a wedding on a Saturday in the fall in the South or the Midwest.
Nope.
That if you are holding a wedding on a Saturday, people are going to stare at their phones the entire time, and they're going to find a corner bar TV to put on Georgia Auburn, to put on Texas Tech, to put on Ohio State, Penn State, or whatever. And it's sort of universal that it's cool that you're here for something else, right, but also we have our priorities.
Well, the passion, in a way, even though, I enjoy, I do get around, usually around like late November, December, start watching college football, become like one of those fair weather fans, watch the finals and all that. But I am actually happy that I'm not addicted to college football like some of my friends are, like you guys are, because literally it's like you will get divorced. You can't have Saturday and Sunday constantly. It's like the wives are going to be like, why you go? I'm leaving. Because at least for me, Sunday, it's like when the Giants are playing, I can't be spoken to. I'm like, I got to make sure Saquon Barkley's thighs are getting more jacked. I have to, that's what I want to eat for Thanksgiving is thighs. But at least Saturdays, I watch it casually, but I don't get, it's got to be insane. You guys have to go insane, right?
Yes.
Like during college football season.
So it's games from basically noon Eastern to midnight, 1 a.m, because of the West Coast. We wake up early to watch everything we didn't see for 4 hours and study everything. Right. Then we record a show for an hour and a half. And then none of it only is meaningful for like 36 hours because you're on to the next week.
Dude, Ty's 19 years old. And this is what he looks like, because stress of college football season.
He is the most wrinkled out 19-year-old. And then you have to follow recruiting, and then there are message boards, and then every coach leaves in December. It's a mess. One of the things I wanted to ask you, though, is you mentioned getting on the road. Is you grow up in New York. I grew up in LA, so I didn't really have a reference point either. And as fun as USC and UCLA sometimes are, it's not a college football town.
Right.
And so New York, not a college football town.
Right.
But I traveled. I worked for Sports Illustrated. I traveled everywhere, and that kind of opened my eyes. And I used college football to sort of see the country, essentially.
Right.
You see the country via comedy, but you've been to college campuses. I assume at this point, maybe you've been to a facility, or you've been to a game, or you've been around. What has been your experience on the road, seeing schools, being on campus, and seeing the sort of unhealthy fever up close?
So I think the craziest one is I was performing at a great comedy club in Madison, Wisconsin called Comedy on State, and the Wisconsin football was playing. And it was about 3 days before the show, and they were like, listen, there's not a chance in hell one person's going to come to your show, because Wisconsin is playing college game day. They're playing at like 8 p.m. At home. So just we strongly advise you not to come. And I was like, they're going to come. My fans don't care. Let's do the show. I'll talk about it on my podcast. It'll be fine. One person was there. One lone girl who was studying abroad from Korea, who didn't speak English. And I said, you know what? I'm doing the show.
Yeah.
I'm doing the show because if at the very least I'm gonna bring peace to Korea with my comedy in Madison, Wisconsin. And now I've learned my lesson. Now it's gotten to the point now where I will actually not perform in the South on Saturdays during college football season, or like, anywhere like in that area. Cause I just know, like I'm going in December, I'm going to North Carolina and Charleston, but I made the shows Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Cause I'm like, don't even screw with Saturday. You're done. So that's what I realized. Cause interesting, I was in Philadelphia. Like I said, there was 1,000 people at the show in downtown Philadelphia while their team was playing, because pro sports doesn't have the same grasp as college. It's almost like I feel like with college, because they are kids, playing, or young men. You're like, you come and feel like a responsibility, like, I want to, like, it's a kid here, I want to support this kid. Where like a pro, you're like, he's already got $50 million. I don't care, win, lose, break your knee, I don't care. But a kid, gets hurt, or you want the kid to like play well. So I think that's what college football has its hooks in people more. I think college football has its hooks in people the most of any sport. I think the craziest things, like, people give the Buffalo Bills, the Bills Mafia, they're like, oh, they're crazy. I'm like, that's probably like some Division III college football team level nuts. See, here's the thing for me. I'm envious of the passion that people have for anything, like for college football, like to love something that much. It's like, it makes me realize, like, I'm violently depressed and I'm like disconnected. I'm a sociopath because I don't care about anything the way people care about college football. And I'm like, I got to talk to my doctor about this.
Why do you hate Alabama?
You know why I hate them? Because number one, I think because, jealousy, like I want to wear Nick Saban's skin. I wish it was Nick Saban. I just a hot older guy, and a gilf. So I want, I think that Alabama I dislike, because to me, for many years, I think part of the reason I didn't watch college football was because to me, it was boring. I was like, Alabama's going to win. It's going to be like the same teams. It's always like Alabama or a Texas or USC. It's like, this is annoying. But being a Yankees fan, New York Yankees fan, it's like, that's what it must have felt like in the late 90s, where it's like, it's the same teams always. So it's like people stop watching. But now that Alabama's out, like when I saw that they went down and they're like, no chance for the college playoff, I was like, okay, now this is interesting. Now I like, because it's Georgia or TCU, these teams. Now I'm like, okay, I know Georgia has been winning a lot lately, but it's like, they haven't won as much lately as like in Alabama.
Well, and the other thing I'm discovering through this interview that you and I like all the same pro teams. So I think with that run of the Yankees in the 90s, I can imagine from the outside looking in, it was great as a Yankee fan. However, if you weren't, part of the issue is not just that they were winning and that they were so successful, but it almost felt like there was an inevitability in that they would never get worse.
Right.
And I think a lot of people pick that up with Alabama. We hear it all the time. That's why this season in particular is sort of unique, because Alabama's lost 2 games already. It seems like with respect to the playoff, they're kind of on the outside looking in. And we hear that so much. I just said to Dan earlier, I kind of don't know how to react. I'm almost uncomfortable with the notion that Alabama isn't just indestructible this season.
Yeah. And it's good though. It's better for college football. And it's good that, they are having a year like this, because at least like, with college football, there's no real way, you're not going to go from high school to the NFL, where like with college basketball, there was, that time when you could do that. And then when they said you got to play at least 1 year, that makes every other team better. Like that makes the lower teams better, because all these guys who would have went to the NBA now are going to take the big scholarships at Duke, North Carolina, and blah, blah, blah. And if they would have went to the NBA, then that meant some other kid who was a little lower was going to get the scholarship because so-and-so went to the NBA. But now that kid can't get the scholarship to Duke because the one and done is in Duke. So now that kid has got to go to like some mid-level D1 school. And that makes the March Madness be like, oh, all these kids, all these teams now, like John Morant was in Murray State. It's like, like you don't have that in college football. You don't have, very rarely,
right.
It's not likely that you'd ever have a no-name beat Alabama, where like in college basketball, that's very likely. That's going to happen. And I understand you can't have a big tournament with college football. I get it. It's football. You they do the best they can. But to me, the most exciting thing in sports is that NCAA March Madness tournament, like, all these games, one and done, you don't know who's going to win. Where with college football, just too many times I felt like, well, now I know who's going to win in the recruiting. And I get it. Like if you're an amazing athlete and Alabama comes knocking at the door, you're like, I'm just going to go to Alabama, because why would I go anywhere else? I want to get to the NFL, so I'll go to Alabama.
So then where are you going? If you're a recruit, right? If you're this unbelievable high school player, do you want to be another guy on a roster at Alabama? Do you want to carve out your own stardom at TCU, at Ohio State? Well, I guess Ohio State's sort of like Alabama in that way, but do you want to go to, Oregon or USC, or do you want to go to Florida State where, maybe you're not just another faceless top recruit, whether it's geography, whether it's team, put your brain in the head of a top recruit. Where's Chris going?
Okay. So first of all, I don't like being away from home.
Okay.
That long. So I don't like. I like to be like, if I have a panic attack, I can drive home after school.
Wagner's your answer.
Yeah. Wagner, Staten Island. No, I think that honestly, where I think I go, just because it's just a fun town.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going. You ready for this? You never expect this. You know where I'm going? Boston College.
Ooh, interesting.
Wow. I'm going to Boston College just because I like history. I want to follow in Benjamin Franklin's footsteps. I'm going to die the same way he did of syphilis. and I just want to go. I want to be close to home. I like Boston. I like the culture there. It's just a fun, clean, small city, not far from New York. I could be a big fish, on a small team. And I like the uniforms. I like the colors. I like the colors of their uniforms. I'd either do there, or I'd go off the wall and I go to Boise State to play in that blue field.
Like that?
Yeah.
Chris, if you've got any eligibility, you could start this year for Boston College.
That's true. They're terrible.
Well, you ready for this? I played 4 years of college basketball, but I played in not the NCAA. It was called the USCAA. It was like an independent small league. So I think technically I have no NCAA. I've never used one day of NCAA.
I think that's true.
I wasn't in the NCAA.
Wow.
I think that's a good loophole. What position did you play?
I was like a point guard, shooting guard. So, I'm only 6'1", but Division III, it's like, you
were towering.
Was like 6'3".
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She was a girl.
What's on your list just to go to a game, just to tailgate, just to eat your face off and drink beer and go to a game? What's on your list? Like, do you want to get to the SEC, the Midwest, the West Coast? Do you want to tailgate on a yacht in Seattle? Like, what's the move?
So I've actually never been to a college football game ever.
Okay.
I've never been. It would be, I would love to. I think, some of the iconic ones, Notre Dame, University of Miami would be great to go see a game. But I think the first college football game I'm going to go to is next year. The Fighting Irish are playing in Dublin, Ireland. And I'm going to book I just did some shows in Europe. I'm going to do shows in Europe next year around that. They're actually playing in Dublin. The Fighting Irish are playing in Dublin on August 26th, which is my birthday. So I think I'm going to book some shows in Ireland and end it all on my birthday with that Notre Dame Fighting Irish game in Dublin.
Beautiful
plan.
Are you guys going to go? Should the three of us just go?
I'm in. I'm ready.
Let's do it.
I've never been to Ireland. Ty's a Notre Dame guy.
My wife's dying to go to Ireland. Would love to go to Ireland. Yeah.
Dude, Ireland is I just came back from there. It's an amazing place, man. You learn, Gaelic football. Dude, Gaelic football is like, have you ever seen that being played?
No.
I mean, they're playing NFL college football, Division I college football level football with no helmets. And they're just fearless, like completely fearless. I was in awe watching. How crazy is that? I've seen a Gaelic football game before I've seen an NCAA college football game.
Would you rather if the football here didn't have pads? Is it better?
So the Gaelic, I spoke to a Gaelic football player and he was saying that, yes, it is better because he said, we know we're not going in tackling you like, having our bodies like parallel with the turf because we're not relying on the protection of a helmet and pads that's giving you false protection. He's like, we're literally using our actual bodies. So we know, he's like, I'm not going full speed at you. I'm tackling you and getting to the ground, but I'm doing it in a protective way. He said, where your guys, American football, will just be like, oh, I'm not going to get, you have this like false invincibility because of the helmets and the pads. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I think like too, those guys, like, I think they're all drunk, to be fair. I think they're drunk playing the game.
Final question for me, because you hosted a show about people building out their backyards.
Okay.
And people, I'm not breaking news here. You know this.
Yes.
Backyard Bar Wars.
BBW.
People are building out watch party setups at home more and more, backyard, whatever. What is your advice? What is your advice for the perfect setup? It's college football, it's college basketball, it's NFL, whatever. What is your advice, having seen people really go for it, in terms of getting a setup going to watch sports, backyard or otherwise?
I think the thing that people love the most is, first of all, if you have a pool, warm weather, have some type of television by the pool that you can sit in the pool and watch the TV. The other thing people love, some type of contraption to pour shots for you. Some type of thing where you don't have to do it. Some like ping pong ball that you can throw into a cup and then it starts thing, and then it pours a shot. Every time your team scores a touchdown or gets a first down, depending on what level of alcoholism you're at, that I think is key. Have some type of feature for the bar that's like a wow factor.
I like that. All right.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice. Sir. Chris Distefano, check out a special on Netflix, Special Weshy.
Really funny.
Hey Babe podcast, Chrissy Chaos. ChrisDComedy.com is where you can go to find out more about Chris's tour. Thank you so much for coming on, for sharing some of your college football experience with us.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.